Hey everybody,
What's up?
we're in a hotel room shooting a podcast.
Welcome to IronTrap on the road.
IronTrap on the road.
We've done this one other time. Remember we did Grand National wrap-up show in a
Yeah, that
hotel
was
room?
like one of our first batch of.
Yeah.
That might have been one of our first BS ones actually.
I think it was actually, yeah. Because we had just guests for all of them.
Yeah. So,
We are in Fairview, Oklahoma.
in a hotel that we've been living in for multiple days.
Yep.
And we just got done eating some Mexican food, which is nobody should be surprised about.
Surprisingly, we didn't do Mexican every day. We did skip one day, and we did
That
not.
was at the request of one of our helpers, because we probably, if it was up to us, we probably would have went to Mexican.
Yes,
But
definitely.
our helper Kevin from Texas, he was kind of like, well, "Can we do Pizza Hut?" And we're like, "Fine."
To be honest, there's not a lot of options here. There's like 3 or 4 places you
Three
can
or
eat.
four restaurants. There's a Sonic, there's a Pizza Hut, there's a Mexican restaurant.
And there's a fast food Mexican place, too.
Yes, and I think that's about it.
Yeah.
So not a ton of stuff, but we get by.
Yeah.
But so, anyways, this video that we're filming, this trip is went from one we were kind of not regretting,
Dreading.
We sort of half dreading, just because it was like we already knew what was there. We took most of the good stuff, and it was a lot of the not as fun stuff for us. It was still good stuff, just not as fun. So Mike and I are like, this feels like work.
And it was like actual lot of physical things that need to be moved, filling a scrap
Coordinated,
dumpster.
So if you guys are interested, I don't know when this comes out, but
This will be out this Sunday.
so the video, when it does come out, is going to be pretty fun one.
It'll probably be the following Sunday, I think, or Friday. I have to see what videos we have filmed.
But we took a left turn, and I bought a handful of pretty cool things.
Yes.
That was not related to this estate, but it's just how this stuff works. So it'll be pretty fun. And then we're moving on to Illinois.
Yes.
2 stops in Illinois the end of this week. So there'll be probably we're gonna have to split this into at least 2 videos.
Yeah, we'll probably do the Illinois stuff in its own video between those 2 stops.
Yeah, and we're shooting a podcast at one of the locations in Illinois, which I'm pretty excited about. We kind of secretly went there earlier this year. One of our trips, Midwest trips.
Yeah, it was over the summer.
Over the summer. So we're gonna have it's probably the first. Well, I lied. Titus we did the interview one with. So this will be a pretty cool one. That like I said, I'm pretty excited to do. And then, so it should be pretty fun stuff. As far as news things.
Calendars are live for pre-order on the website, irontrapgarage.com. They are a pre-order, so we will be ordering the physical calendars after Black Friday. So they will ship before Christmas. So that's been live for a week. So if you've bought one already, thank you. We appreciate it.
Yeah, and we're, of course, doing our discount on Black Friday.
Yes.
We'll do that. So if you want to get your order and get a slight discount on anything on our website, parts and
Merch and stuff like
other
that.
than cars.
And we also make it easy. There's no code. You just check out on Black Friday or the weekend, and the discount is already put in. We try to make it as easy as possible.
Yeah, that way there's no
Snafus.
Yeah, on our part. Also on our part, we don't have to do any kind of tech stuff. It's just like it just works.
Yep.
So that's going on.
Also, we are away right now, and Luke is getting packages out to everybody. So if you bought something while we are away this week, shout out to Luke. He's manning the ship while we are away. This is it's a big test for him. He's been an employee for 2 months now. So
this is kind of what we were leading him up to,
Yeah.
not only during Hershey and Carlisle, but this is his first true test, because during Hershey and Carlisle, Mike was kind of helping him pull orders and then heading to Hershey or Carlisle. This we're not anywhere near, so he's been having to kind of find the stuff too. Usually Mike is very helpful and pulls the orders for him because he knows where stuff is. So Luke's kind of a little more difficult this week because he has to kind of figure out where stuff is.
He has to figure out the inside of my mind and where I put things for what reason. So
Not always
no,
not always makes sense to everybody involved. So he's doing a good job. Steve's back at the shop, actually doing some. It'll probably just be in a week in a life of. Oh no, we might shoot a whole video on it. I
yeah,
don't
it'll
know.
probably be a whole video.
But Steve's kind of starting right away on our like winter projects. So the 38 convertible, we thought had a bad rear main seal leak, and Steve started digging into it. Luckily, investigated early, and we're pretty sure that just the valve covers are leaking that badly again.
That's wild.
That it was running down the back and dripping pretty badly, and seemed like it was the rear main seal. But we the trans in that thing, we just kind of threw one in, and the synchro for third gear's kind of crappy, so it grinds occasionally, or almost every shift occasionally.
And it pops out a second when you decel, right?
No, I don't think that one does actually. It just grinds.
Oh, okay.
It just and in the rear in it, there's nothing wrong with the rear. It was marked as a 354 out of that 40 coupe we parted out, but it turns out I'm pretty sure it's 378s or 411s. I think it's 378s. And it's kind of a bummer because I put the thing gears 354s for highway gears. So we now got a Columbia that was all bulletproofed and rebuilt in the one car out of Long Island. So Steve's working on pulling the rear, pulling the trans, swapping that stuff around, inspecting everything, putting it back together.
Yep.
Just trying to make the 38 a little better this year. And I may work on the hood possibly in between that. We may try and put the other hood on. Get it to fit a little bit better, at least with what Steve can kind of do.
I'm excited to see that because that hood fits terribly.
Yeah, fit, and it's just dented to crap. So I may take that hood, try and get it. We may try to get it to fit better, and then in between me working on the 33, I can shave the hood and do all the modifications the other one has done, and hopefully have a hood that fits a little better.
Yeah.
I want to jump on that car here and there with some small projects throughout the winter if possible, just like 1-2 day projects on it in between working on the Arden car. That's going to be my focus, but sometimes you need a day or two like away from a car.
Break up the madness.
Yeah, because the Mercury was borderline too much because it was like you were just like needed a break. So just to take a break for like a day or 2 days and knock out a quick little project on something different.
And sometimes it makes your work better too because you're
stepping away and
doing something different with your mind for a day.
Yeah. Luckily, the 33 isn't like chopping the Merc where I need to focus quite as much because it's like setting the door gaps. It's kind of like just monotonous work versus
and it's
shaping a panel and trying to make sure the flows are right and it fits right.
And a lot of the projects are a little bit different, whereas the Mercury, it was like all 90% metal, 99% metal shaping and welding. And the Arden car is kind of a little bit of
bunch of stuff.
Everything,
yeah, a little more small projects throughout the year. So that's kind of what's going on with that. I'm actually quite eager to get back into the shop, do a lot more shop work. We're nearing our end of our big projects for the mill for the season.
Yeah.
We'll be doing some small indoor type work that we'll show in the week in the life of. But getting that one real old barn that looked like heck, everything fixed up visually, also getting any leaks and doors and stuff. And we're very, very close. I'm hoping in the next week or two to start. We can have our friend Tony start doing some painting on that. And we're like pretty
90%?
darn close. Yeah, we're 90 spent. We got a back wall that needs to be done that we may not get done before winter. But at least that can be just taken care of itself.
Yeah.
On its own without addressing.
And it's not visible from the road as well.
Yeah, so that's huge. So really excited about that. If you guys watch the week in the life of, it's been fun to show the progress on those, which is really cool. So otherwise, I think that's it for news for the most part.
I think so, yeah.
So
today's topic is kind of ties into what Matt said earlier. Sometimes our trips go off the rails. This one's a little bit different. They normally don't go off the rails this far as what happened on this trip, but people always ask us how we plan our trips, how we do everything around these trips. And even the people that helped us this week here in Oklahoma, they were asking questions about how do you guys do this? How do you do that? And to be brutally honest, our trips are we basically fly by the seat of our pants.
Yeah, it's fun. It's actually kind of fun that we've had some viewers that have offered to help over the past handful of years because there's a lot of stuff. Ew. If you happen to see some feet
Yes.
in here,
We
we're lounging.
apologize.
So you gotta pay for the
The extra.
extra. You gotta pay extra for real feet pics.
This
but-
is currently being filmed at, was it 9 o'clock at night? We worked all day in the sun. So we have our shoes and socks
yeah,
off.
and we're just lounging, but we're trying to keep our feet out of the
Yes.
thing. Mike might crop it, but if you see a little bit of
I
skin,
apologize.
that's just a little teaser for
Our female.
our future endeavor.
Yeah. OnlyFans.
IronTrap OnlyFans.
Yes.
And nobody wants that. Yeah, we've been having different like fans over the years. That some of the fans have become friends that helped us over the years, and
And just friends. Like
And friends in
really, really
general.
good friends. They're like, you guys are kind of doing this wildly.
but it's interesting to hear them asking questions or just watching their expression on how Mike and I operate. Like
It's mostly
normally.
Matt, because this is how Matt's kind of always operated. And I've
Yes.
kind of just,
I actually had that when I was driving with Kevin today from that salvage yard that we went to visit. He was like, I honestly, after I made the last purchase that I made today, he was like, I honestly would lose my mind if I was Mike. I was like, I've honestly trained Mike, and not in a rude way, but I've like, he's learned the way that I do things and kind of the seat of the pants, but like we always make things work.
yeah.
And I said he kind of expects that now and goes with the flow. So it's like, it's also part of the fun. So he was, but yeah,
And to be fair, I used to travel for a living doing maintenance work. So I'm used to a little bit of the seat of your pants because you'd be like, I'm going home on Saturday, and then everything falls apart on Friday. It's like, I'm going home next Saturday. So
Yeah,
like,
wow.
I was kind of used to the craziness of the schedule, things changing and kind of going with the flow. We kind of take it to, I mean, to be honest, the only things we ever schedule is a flight in, the box truck, and maybe a hotel. And the hotel's usually
usually not. I mean, usually the only hotel that I book ahead of time is if we're flying in the night before.
yeah.
And we're forced to get a hotel because we can't get the rental vehicle until the next morning. So I'll get a hotel that's like as close to the airport as possible because we usually want to just crash out.
I think this is the only, this and the last time we were here was the only trip we had a hotel like pre-booked ahead of time.
Yeah, and that's because we were staying for longer than we normally do.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of our trips, we fly in, we do one place in like a day and a half, and then the next, we might get a hotel one night.
And that's not booked
Yeah,
because we
that's-
kind of just are like, it might take a day, it might take a day and a half.
Yeah, we'll book it like, as we're on the way to the estate or whatever. But I started doing this. I mean, I think a lot of the way that I operate with all of this goes way back to when I was younger doing BMX trips. And you would just hop in a car with a bunch of buddies, and we would, the itinerary was we want to go to this skate park, or we want to end up in Austin, Texas, and we know there's these other like skate parks around the way or big cities, and we're going to stop there. We might stay there for an hour, might stay for a whole day, might stay for 2 days.
Have we ever talked about your BMX adventures at all?
Probably not much. I mean, Kate said it when we were driving to the
Yeah.
airport. She's like, she's still surprised. She's like, you've lived like 100 lives.
Yeah.
And it's true. I have done a lot for my
Like these
age.
big chunks of crazy adventures at a time. It's like BMX was like 10 years of craziness, right?
Way more than that. Yeah, because I pretty much started doing BMX when I was a kid. And so I was doing adventures before I could drive a little bit. But when I turned 16, pretty much from 16 till, man, I don't know. I might have even, basically until I started at Eastwood, when I started at Eastwood, I kind of was forced into some normalcy, but like before that, it was basically just like I said, it would just be a bunch of friends and be like, you know what, the Louisville skate park looks really cool. Let's go. I've never been to Louisville. I don't know. Who knows? And it would just be like three or four of us get in a car.
Louisville.
Louisville. Yeah, Louisville. Louisville.
Louisville.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm pronouncing it wrong. I'm sorry. But like I said, Austin, all these different places, and we would just hop in some crappy car that probably shouldn't have been driving that far with a bike rack and whatever. But like I said, even then, that was like pre. I mean, the internet was around, but like it was pre
Cell phone GPS.
cell phone GPS. I mean, when I really started first doing it, there was no.
The Garmin GPS probably weren't even a thing.
Yeah, not really. We were doing the MapQuest, like literally MapQuest, directions to places, and that was always the fun of it. I learned doing that stuff that was the fun of it when you were like, here's the rough itinerary, and it's like, but there's no need since you kind of own your destiny here. Like it's like choose your adventure. You're like, okay, we want to stay here and whatever. So it would happen. It's just literally like these trips. Now it's more business oriented, but it's like we would go to a skate park, and you'd meet some dude that's a local at the skate park, and you'd be like, hey guys, oh, you want to crash with me? I got some ramps in my garage. You guys are welcome to come by. We knew him for an hour and a half. We'd go there. Mom would cook us dinner. We'd ride the skate park, his skate ramp until, all hours of the night. We'd crash on the floor of this house, and then we'd get up and we'd be like, see ya. And this was before social media was, a thing. So you would just be like, all right, see you later. And it was like all these guys that I met that I never saw again, and you just like,
I'd be interested if one day someone's like, hey man, you slept on my couch like 25 years ago on a BMX trip. You guys were coming through.
That'd be awesome. Yeah. So we used to do that a lot, but like for me, I always found that was it was just like the most easygoing way, the most fun, because it was just like, you just go with the flow, and usually it worked out really good because you'd find, like I think a lot of times when people are so structured when they travel or they do different, now again, if our type of business does not lend itself to
firm structure,
but like I think a lot of times, even when people travel for vacation, for anything, almost anything in life, people are so structured sometimes that they miss really cool moments or opportunities because they're so structured that they don't want to take a risk, or something's not, something might not go as planned. Where we're like, the way I've flipped it now, where it's like, we just treat something that goes wrong as a potential way to flip it and be something cool or better or whatever, or a challenge. And we, almost anything can be solved is the way I figure it. So because of that, way back in the, those days. And then when I did the stuff in Europe, I traveled like the same way, no hotel, no anything, because you never knew where you were going to be, what it was going to take you. Also had less money in these earlier days. Damn it, I'm going to keep hitting it.
Now, in those days, when you were traveling in Europe, could you book a hotel online ahead of time? Or a lot of them very still old school, like you just show up and get a room?
As far as I remember, we never used to.
I mean, it wasn't that long ago, but...
Actually, I don't know if I didn't really ever stay in hotels. I was sleeping on the...
Or friends?
We were just had a tent. Kate just used it. I had a Walmart single-person tent that we would drive around, and we'd just be like, that looks like a good spot. And we'd just park on the side of the road and pitch a tent in like a field. And then we'd just wake up in the morning, but okay. And we just get in the vehicle and go.
We survived.
Somehow nobody ever bothered us, which was crazy.
I feel like you couldn't really do that in...
Yeah, this was kind of before... I feel like stuff's less...
You could probably still do it now. Like, because the places you were doing it, you were in the middle of like...
Nowhere, but like... I don't know how people didn't bother us. Because, like, if you think about it now, like, if I was driving down in the middle of nowhere in our area, and there was two random, like, tents and Sprinter van parked, you'd be like, what the fuck? Yeah. And somebody would call the police.
Like, dude, hey, there's some weird dudes in a tent.
They're just, like, sleeping in this tent. But then again, much like our trips now, we drive till really late in the evening.
And you get up super
and then
early.
you get up super early. So there was probably times, and we would, to be fair, we would sometimes sleep at rest stops. You park at a rest stop, you just put your tents. And like when I was doing the BMX thing, we just park at a parking lot, and we'd have a sleeping bag. I'd use my sneakers as my pillow, and then we
I
just
did get to experience that. We did that for one trip. We slept in the van
Yeah.
and used our shoes as pillows, and it sucked.
it's not as fun as it seems.
Well, it was
Now
probably fun when you were a kid. We're
Yeah.
all old and like have fucked up backs.
Yeah, so like because of that, especially when I started traveling to Europe a lot, I was like super loosey goosey with the plans, and met some of the freaking coolest people and had some of the best experiences of like I remember the one trip with one girl I was dating. We went over and we did that. I don't even know if they have it anymore. Couchsurfing.org. Her and I decided to
That
just
was a website?
yeah, it was this website where you would get validated as a person and you had reviews. It was all free. So you would offer up your spare bedroom, your couch, your basement, whatever, guest house.
Yeah.
And people could just message you and request to stay. Well, what you do is they'd put a request up to stay. So if I wanted to stay in Fairview, Oklahoma, I would put a request up and it would send a notification to everybody on that website.
What was it called?
Couchsurfing.org was what it was called back then, I believe. And oh, cool, still up. Yeah. So
It's still a legit website.
yeah, so like you would be legitimized, like you had to be a real person, and people would give you reviews. And basically, the whole idea is that no one would pay to stay.
Yeah.
And the whole idea was like so. This gal I was dating, her and I went to Europe and did car stuff, but also we were like, let's do the couch surfing thing and try it because I think my friend Brent from Australia came to the States and used it a bunch, and he told me, I was like, it's super cool. Like you meet all these interesting people, and people have reviews and they'll say, oh, this person's really great or their home's really neat. So like we did it and we met these people. I remember the one girl we met, she did a world tour using that website. She spent a whole year, traveled the whole world using couchsurfing.org and connections from that. And she basically did a whole year of doing it. So we met her in, I think it was Hamburg, Germany. And we were only supposed to stay with her for like one night. She was so cool. She like showed us around the city and like
That's cool.
took us to all these cool like spots we never would have known and like German stuff that was not as touristy. And then we ended up staying like 2 or 3 nights and had a freaking fantastic time.
That's killer.
So because of like those trips, it's like now when we do these, it's like, I mean, we even talked about today. It's like we went to get a trailer.
Yeah.
And the dude we met at the garage, we were picking a trailer up. We're like instantly, we're like 5 minutes later, we're in his garage down the street looking at all his cool cars
Yeah, exactly.
and talking. And it's like, but if we were super regimented and we were like, didn't sit down and shoot the breeze with the guy, we'd get the trailer, we'd leave, and it'd be done. It's like we just met this dude, got his number. He knows where there's a lot of old cars, and
we made it like a legit connection. He's
Yes.
like, if I hear of anything, I'll give you guys a call.
Yeah,
He's like,
yeah.
I'm not really into that stuff. I'm kind of into more of this era.
Yeah.
But he's like, if I come across anything, I'll give you guys a call.
yeah. So with the trips, we plan from the get-go. I think when we get a lead or say we make a deal on an estate that we're going to purchase, most of these estates that we do, we usually try to have either the exact price when possible,
Yeah.
pretty much agreed upon. In a perfect scenario, we get good photos of the cars or the items, or we get some sort of list with highlight items, and then we say, give us the heavy hitter items, NOS this, accessory this speed equipment, these are the cars. And then we can kind of go through and evaluate, and we could I have a conversation, or Mike is starting to do it some, with the estate or seller, and we'll say, look, this is, these items here, here's roughly what retail would be for these items. Here's where we need to be. And people always want to know what we pay or how we do that. Literally every situation's different. So
And a lot of times the estates tell us what they want. They just,
yeah, sometimes they do, and then sometimes, like I'm saying, we usually have to kind of give them a rundown. So let's say they'll give us a list of
Yeah.
the heavy hitter items. You know that there's a lot more than that, but they either don't know what it is or it's hidden in boxes. None of us know what it is, whatever. And you go, well, here's all these items. This is one instance. This isn't all the times. We might say, here's all the heavy hitter items, blah, blah, blah. And I'll say, I could pay you retail for what all that is, but I know there's a lot more mystery here that there's going to be better stuff. So why don't we pay that for everything? And when it all works out, we're going to get a wholesale price because we're getting a lot of it. There's a little bit of a gambling for us. There's a little bit of a gamble for the estate because we could find out that all the rest of the boxes are junk. We could find out that all of those boxes they didn't really go through and there's NOS parts and it's great for us. So we try and be, it doesn't really, usually I've found it just blends and it's always the little bit of both. You're disappointed about some stuff, you're psyched on some stuff, you find some stuff that no one knew they had, and we go from there. We always give the caveat to the estates that if we find something insane, we're not going to hold you to it's ours. So if we're digging through and I don't even know what an instance could be, but like if it was something that was some insane,
The Mona Lisa.
yeah, whatever it is. You have estates that sometimes they're worried that you're going to find something that's really crazy in there. And generally we say if there's something like that, or maybe they're worried there is some super rare part that they couldn't find it, they didn't know, or they didn't see. I usually say, for all the stuff you told me, all the general stuff, if we come across some stuff that's above and beyond or is really crazy, we will negotiate that stuff to the side. And then we kind of just work ebb and flow with that stuff. And I feel like usually the estates, it works out really good because sometimes like we'll be going, I'm like, oh man, that, you listed in your list that was an NOS front bumper. We open it up and it's a Bob Drake reproduction. You're like, look, it's great. It's a good bumper, but like there's a big difference in the value of this. And they're like, oh man, we're sorry, but no problem. It's just, we'll take it. It's okay. I'm just showing it to you. So if we find something over here that's better than expected, you're not like, well, I want $500 more. You're like, well, we're just trading around stuff. So that part of it is another reason you have to be very easygoing with this stuff. So we try, and a lot of the hard part with the negotiating process is getting the family or the seller over the. Now, if the person that owns the stuff is selling it to us, it's way easier because usually they kind of know what they have, they know what it is, and there's
Roughly know what they want.
Yeah, so, but it's more like the families where, like, we're dealing with one right now where their father has dementia. Unfortunately, he can't tell them what all he has because he can't remember anymore. And they're like, well, we don't know. They want to deal with us, but they're like, they just have no idea. They send us photos and 90% of the stuff's in boxes. So it's like, okay, well, do you, in this instance, they're like, well, a friend of his that's a car buddy can come over and help tell me what some of this stuff is to get us a list. And at least gives us a jumping point. And in an instance like that, it might be where we get to, here's a rough dollar amount, and we're going to be within $5,000 of this.
Yeah.
So I know that I need to bring a little bit extra money in case it's better than expected. Maybe we'll pay that. Maybe we'll pay a little less. And at least if you get within a range, I just never want to show up to an estate that's, even if it's 3 hours or 5 hours from home, and they're thinking $100,000 and we're thinking $10,000, and it's like, okay, well, we're not going to reconcile.
Yeah, there has to be some
ballpark,
something set up beforehand. I don't know if we've ever gone to a state. I guess there was a couple semi-local ones we went with like no idea. The one in New York where we got the lift. The lift was the only thing that we had set up, the 4-post lift where we got the 38.
No, because we knew she sent me photos of the 38. We saw photos of, and then we saw photos of the 39 convertible.
Did we talk price before we went?
Not on those cars. She sent photos of those, and she sent photos of the parts and stuff. But we knew that we were going to be passing through there. So
that's right. We were on another trip. That's right.
That's kind of what ended up working out with her was that I explained how we need to buy, and she was totally cool with it. And And I said, well, we'll be passing through. Do you mind if we come? We'll make some room to buy stuff
Yeah.
and, and work it from there.
Again, we were very just going with the flow.
Yeah. And that one we showed up. We didn't know if we were buying a car, if we were going to buy one intake manifold. But we came with a little bit of room. We kind of always, we usually play out so before we start a trip, a lot of times we play out the scenarios. It's like, okay, well, what's the best possible scenario? We go and we buy 5 cars. Well, if that happens, how are we getting those 5 cars home?
Yes.
It's like more than likely we're not going to be out. Rarely ever do we get to buy everything for what we want to pay. It doesn't usually work out that way. So, but we always have to have that instance of what happens if blah, blah, blah. And then it's like,
It's usually me bringing up that point. Like,
yeah, Mike.
how we getting 5 cars home? Matt's like, we could buy it all. I'm like,
Don't worry about it.
pump the
We'll get 'em
brakes.
They'll figure it out.
That's usually the.
You're like, we're in the airport right now. How we figure
Usually the conversation is me bringing a point and Matt goes, we'll figure it out. Don't fucking worry about it. We'll figure it out. That's the conversation we have almost on a daily basis.
Yeah. So, but there's the states like the one we did in Long Island. We bought everything. We knew we were getting all the cars. We knew we were getting all the parts. So that was an instance where we had our friend Becker come with his car hauler. I had a prearranged price that he was going to charge us to move it. And that one was pretty much like, other than the quantity of parts, we pretty much knew what we were getting. But some of these other ones, it's like the one you're talking about in Connecticut, where it was like, we knew those cars were there, but we never really talked prices because the family, like the 39 convertible sedan, they didn't even really know what it was. She was like, I know it's a 39 Ford. I could see we saw the grill and my dad would talk about it, but like, it's buried in trash. We don't really know what it is. We know it's a convertible. And I was actually kind of bummed because we got there and we thought it was a convertible coupe, and we got there and we're like, it's a sedan, but XYZ. So we usually try and like, what's the scenario that if everything in a perfect world, if we could get everything we wanted, how do we get it home? And most of these states, it's not too bad because if we're not real far from home, like even if we're in Ohio, it's like if it's that good of a situation, we can always run back and forth. Like
or rent another truck.
Yeah. So we usually could figure that out. It's like the further west we go, the more expensive it gets to transport the stuff.
Yeah.
And you have to think a lot more about like, okay, well, if this is $1,000 car and it takes $1,200 to get it home with a trailer rental and extra fuel.
Did you have that thought today?
No, not at all. Because no, I did not. Because anytime stuff's like really good quality,
I know. I just wanted to ask that because
yeah,
I know
no,
you didn't.
No. But like we usually are like, what's best case scenario, what's worst case. The worst case side of things is sometimes like this trip we're doing now was a worst case scenario, but we were a little worried where it's like we're renting a 26-foot box truck. It's very expensive. So, I mean, we can be a little, anybody can look this up, but like, for instance, the rentals, like for a 26-footer from Oklahoma areas, $1,500 to $1,800 for just a truck plus mileage.
Plus fuel.
Plus fuel. So you're gonna end up having $3,000 to $5,000 into getting an empty truck and Mike and Matt home, plus hotels and all that stuff. So it's like Mike and I sometimes get worried where we're like, in this one we were like, man, a lot of the stuff we left behind because it was so rough. It's like, do we want to fill a 26-foot truck that cost us $3,000 to $5,000 to get home with
stuff that's worth $3,000 to $5,000?
Yeah, like $150 fenders that are kind of junk, and we cut a bunch of cabs up that we're going to struggle to sell, and it's like, man, how's this going to work out? And again, I do sometimes in my head run the numbers, and I'm like, okay, well, there's X number of cabs left. We get this. There's this body. There's these pieces that we wanted to take last time, but we couldn't. This time, for instance, our friend Dale, a viewer turned friend Dale that helped us last trip, he agreed to buy one of the pickups and the Chevy sedan. So we're like, okay, there's a little bit of money even at the friend price that will help offset the truck.
Yep.
So we were kind of like, Mike and I playing out the scenario, and this trip's a good one to just talk about because it's fresh in our minds. Like, well, if we can get the cost of the box truck covered in stuff
Yes.
that we sell. Anything that's good that we put in the truck is free to get home. And then if we stop a couple spots along the way, it's a lot
Also
better.
free.
Yeah, it's transporting. It's free.
Yeah.
But we found in a lot of these trips where there's multiple stops. That's also why we do the multiple stops. Is sometimes we talk about in other podcasts the trip one of the stops doesn't go as planned, or maybe we didn't get as good of a deal as we hoped, or maybe the quality of the stuff wasn't what we expected, or who knows what.
And the other factor is some of these little stops we make are not worth their own dedicated trip.
Yep.
So it's like, well, why would we come back to see them just on their own? You hit 5 or 6 little ones, usually one major one. Then we hit 3 or 4 little ones on our way home, and it kind of just you fill in all the little cracks in the box truck, so you're getting the most value for this giant box
Yes.
you're driving down the highway. And if we just do one estate and you partially fill it, it's kind of a waste of fuel, rental, and all that stuff.
And it's happened to us on some
Yeah.
couple of trips we've done where it was like we had the truck and we all the stops didn't work out as planned, and the truck's not empty but not packed to, in best case scenario it's packed so full that we barely can get the door shut because you're getting the most money out of it. So we usually plan for best and worst with the truck and the space involved. And then Mike and I, during the first stop, we're usually having these conversations where, do we really want to bring this because the next stop might have a better thing? Or maybe the next stop has a car that we might purchase. So if we put all these parts that are like, or you purchase some stuff on the first stop, and then you get to the next one and the car is really good, or there's some stuff that you didn't expect. It's 5 engines that you want to buy, and it's like, well, crap, we don't have space for this because
And we can't leave the fenders at the second stop. Just be
Yeah.
like, can we just toss these in your scrap pile?
Yeah. So that doesn't always work. So we try and plan as we're packing and buying. And we were doing it a lot at this particular estate where we're being super reserved on what we were actually taking home. And this one was a little better. This is the first time we've actually were able to do this, mainly for a courtesy's sake. We never really do like on-site sales out of states, even though we purchase everything outright. They know we resell.
It's almost bad taste to do it.
Yeah, and we generally, and we've had this happen where people are upset that want to purchase from us. Like, say the word gets out that we're buying this stuff. We've had times where people came to the estate that were maybe heard through the grapevine, locals, or just people that heard through our channel that we're going to be selling there. And they come and they're trying to buy the stuff on the spot. And I actually refuse to do that most times because it's like super awkward to have like the daughter or the son standing there and you paid them all this money for the estate. And if dad's stuff and they're literally watching before their eyes us buying and selling the stuff, emotionally it's not always great for the family to see that. Even though they know we sell, it's like, it's just a bad taste thing, like Mike said. So we try not to do that. And we've had some times where people are like upset with us because I
have money right here. It's like,
what was the one we were doing recently where it was like it was Long Island. There was like some old guy that
he wanted to buy wheels.
He bought the race car, like a modern race car, and then he wanted some wide 5 wheels, and he was like hounding me to buy them in front of the son after we made the deal, and I'm like, dude, I don't want to sell this stuff here. And I'm like, you live in New York. Like, here's what we get for them. We have tons of them back there. We'll pay shipping or whatever. They're pretty affordable. But I said, I just don't want to. I don't know if these are good or what. I was just being vague. And he was getting real pushy and got kind of a little angry with me. Not like he was going to fight me, but it was just like, you can see he was annoyed. But it's like, we're just bad taste. So
it's like buying someone's, like us going into Carlisle and buying a whole table full of stuff, someone coming up and asking about it, and then you selling it to that person right in front of the dude in his booth.
Even that's not as bad because it's not as emotional. Like when it's dad's stuff or grandpa's stuff and you're like flipping it in the same yard in dad's garage, it's just like, I try not to do that. There's a little bit of there's a lot of that goes on in the sign world, and a
Yes.
lot of the like resellers that are just fast-paced resellers, a little different than we are. There's a lot of guys that literally they're taking photos in the garage with grandma standing in the background counting the $100 bills, and they're putting it on Marketplace. Then the lady didn't even, you didn't even load it on the trailer. It's like it's just again like, or in the in the driveway of the house you just bought it at. It's like we try to not do that stuff.
Yeah.
It's like I'd rather get it home, clean it up, do some. It's just and that might be some of me being like too cautious. But we try not to do that. But this time we made Facebook ads and tried to get rid of some of the stuff that we knew we wanted to save space.
Yeah.
So we try and plan the space. Out of all the planning, that's probably some of the most that goes on. It's like, well,
Yeah.
how do we want to pack it? How do we want to, what are we getting at these estates that we're potentially getting?
And again, with the planning, it also the seat of our pants because it's like we kind of know what we're getting size wise, but at the same time, it's like some of them we're putting a car in there. It's like we kind of know how nice the car is, but you don't know until you physically look at it. So it's like, well, we kind of want to pack it in and around it. But what happens if we get there and it's like insanely nice and we can't do that?
Yeah.
So it's like you kind of have to play it by be very loose with it to be like, okay, well, we can't pack super tight. So let's figure out how we can pack this economically without needing 3 trucks.
Yeah.
And also not mess up. Like we had to do it in Long Island, actually.
Long Island was probably the most difficult one with that, where we were down to literally inches, figuring all of that out because we had the convertible coupe was the nicest car there, and it kind of needed to go on the top of his car carrier
For height.
to fit on the parkways. Some of the I hate that thing. The bridges are lower some on the parkway, so some of the parkways or whatever. So he was worried about that. We were trying to measure ahead of time with like cars I have and whatever.
And of course, everything Matt owns is modified. So we're like
Lowered and chopped. And
adding inches. We're like, it's got to only be like 3 or 4 inches. And then our measurements were way off.
yeah, tire height and all this, all this stuff.
And people don't realize, early Fords actually do sit very high, off the ground and height wise of the roof. So it's like he's used to hauling like Acuras and like normal small car sedans on the roof. He's like, this thing's like 1.5 feet taller than anything I put up here ever.
Yeah, it's like the equivalent of putting a small pickup truck.
Yeah.
So like in those instances, we were trying to figure out, and we thought we could fit 3 cars on there with putting the convertible there or whatever, or airing the tires down and all this different stuff.
Taking the wheels completely off.
Yeah, and then we figured out that it just was not going to work. And we're like, okay, well, we really should put the nicest car in an enclosed trailer. But now what do we do with all the parts? So then we brought those wire crates. Luckily, Mike had found, like ahead of time, was like, oh, I found these wire crates. They'd be really good for packing and moving and whatever. And like they folded flat. So it was fantastic because on the way there, we could bring them there, unfolded them. We could carry them up on the top of Nick's truck, unfold them, and we loaded them on the place. And it worked out beautifully because they were just a little bit lower than the car.
Yeah, it was a great pivot. I was like, well, we have to put the nice car in the trailer, and there's a lot of stuff here.
Yeah.
How are we going to make this work? And Nick's like, there's bins will fit up there. We just have to figure out how to strap them. We're like, deal, let's do it.
Yeah. And we're like, it's going to suck on the other end with the forklift getting them way up high and off of that. But like,
it actually worked out
it did. It was just very cautious with the forklift to get in and over
not
his
messing
truck.
up a nice rollback.
Yeah, but like, so those things, that wasn't even a plan we had formulated ahead of time. It was like we just dealt with it on the spot, on the fly, and it ended up working out really, really well. We also usually we have an idea of what we need for space roughly. There's not many trips where we've had. So they were asking us this. I don't know if Kevin was asking us that or what, but like there's not many trips where we have to do more than one stop. Or, I mean, I'm sorry, more than one time back to the estate. Because usually we're pretty good at figuring out like what we need to take. We also always talk with the estates that we're not we're not a clean out service, so we're not broom sweeping or taking every piece. But we will make a huge dent or we'll remove stuff. So like we always kind of know this is roughly 26-foot truck fits a lot of stuff.
If you're good at packing it economically, I think that's the right word to use
Yeah.
there. You can fit, I mean,
If you're good at Tetris.
a shit ton of parts, car
And-
parts. As long as it's not like sheet metal, it's a little bit tough. But when you're getting just like overall stuff, you can really pack a lot of parts in there.
Yeah, so we usually we know that we can get tons of stuff. We also kind of now it's actually work because we kind of know how much parts we could fit in a truck now, and we roughly have. Now it's hard to know exactly how much money in parts retail can come out of that truck, but because it's variables, but we kind of know what we pay per truckload now.
Yeah.
So like the one of the the pivoting one was like when we were in the Model A stuff in Vermont or whatever it was. We didn't talk prices at that one
Yeah.
at all. I just prepped them that we need to buy wholesale. We'll take a lot, blah, blah, blah. And even till we got there, it was like, well, how do you want to do this? And they're like, I have no idea. And I was like,
And on the way there, you and I were discussing best case and worst case of those two situations.
yeah. And then we kind of jokingly were like, what if it's like a supermarket dash
yeah.
type thing, like joking? I'm like, it's actually not a bad idea. Let me see what they think of that. And like, so it was kind of like I threw the idea to them. We have one day, one truck,
One price.
one price, and whatever we can get in the truck by the end of the day with Mike, myself, and two helpers, that's it. If something happens and we can't get what we expected done, we'll still pay. I'll pay the same amount no matter what. And they were like, "Oh, that's cool. Okay." And
Yeah.
like we also, playing our cards, we knew we can load a truck in a day if we hustle.
Yeah.
But that was like a kind of a neat way to do it, where it was like we those people were probably looking for it. They were more worried about dollar amount rather than what we were taking at that point. So we hit a dollar amount that they liked,
Yeah.
that was helpful to them, and that made them let the reins go loose, and they just stayed at a house in the air conditioning and were like, that's enough money. We don't really care what they take,
Yeah.
kind of
Let
deal.
those dummies sweat out there in the middle of summer.
Yeah. So, but like, yeah, the we're very loosey goosey, and I probably would say that not for like reality TV. We probably play it up a little bit, like in the videos. Not play it up, but like
Embellish a little bit.
not even embellish. It's probably like you sometimes are like, oh man, I can't believe you bought that, and it's like,
Yeah.
really, you don't give a shit, but.
I know every time.
Yeah,
I'm just like, nothing will ever surprise me
Yeah.
that Matt walks in and tells me anything.
So-
The larger items that were ended up being purchased on this trip.
Yeah.
As soon as he talked about going to look at them, I was like, we're going to have to figure out how to fit those sons of bitches in this truck. But we'll figure it out.
So so like a lot of times, and it's kind of like, I almost cue it up to happen. Like we're out in a state, we're loading, whether it's the family members or a friend
Yeah.
or a neighbor or somebody.
Usually
that's
it's a friend.
friend or a neighbor, somebody that's helping us, and even the family. I'll be kind of being friendly as we're loading, just conversating. I think it also adding an emotional aspect, emotional connection when we're doing these estates where they most of the times liked their family member that owned the stuff, or said person is there that owns the stuff. They like the fact that you're interested in, man, where did they get this? Or
Yeah.
oh,
What's
man,
the
this
story
is-
of this thing?
Yeah, and like, oh man, this is really cool, or whatever. Like they're telling stories, and the fact that we're connecting with that stuff as we're taking all the stuff, I think people appreciate that. And I don't just do it for that reason, like to make them feel good. I am genuinely interested, but I also do think it makes people feel
Yeah.
good. So like, but what I'm also kind of have gotten really good at over the years is I'm asking questions and doing this stuff to kind of nudge their memory, because there's been a lot of times at estates, number one, that the family forgets about something, or they tell us that there is not something and there is, And we joke all the time. We know way better than the people selling the stuff sometimes, where you're like, we're at the estate looking around and you're like, there's definitely going to be X somewhere. And they're like, nope, nothing else. And I'm like, well, there's nothing in that, trap door up in the crawl space. No, why would Dad ever put anything up there? I'm like, well, he had stuff in the basement, stuff in the shed. He had stuff packed in the spare car that was under the tarp outside. I'm like, I know car guys. He probably filled that space up there at some point, and that's why he's filling the car outside and under the freaking couch cushions. There's car parts, and they're like, no, I don't think so. And sometimes I have to like ask questions and do all this stuff, and sometimes I have to be a little tricky. And you're like, oh man, I wonder if whatever. And you walk over to get the shovel off the wall, for some stupid reason, and I'm like, well, why don't we just check real quick to see if there's anything up there? And they're like, I'll just stop bothering you. And they're like, okay, fine. They pull it down. I'm like, you shine a light up, and they're like, there's 240 Ford wheels I can see, and I didn't even climb up. And they're like, are you kidding me? There's stuff. I'm like, we know every time.
Every single time.
So like, I'm nudging them having these conversations it's not that I'm doing anything like to be shady. It's more like I'm trying to, in a nice way, tell them that I know better than them, but not be a jerk. So you're like trying to like beat around the bush, but we also do it to sometimes get leads. So when we have like neighbors or friends or people from out of town, or even like today we're in a couple towns over picking up a trailer, and it's like we just start asking the guy that's friendly with us, anybody else that has old Ford stuff, whatever. And the guy's like on the phone like instantly. I was like, hey, Jimmy.
Yeah, it was like, I have a friend that's into doing flea markets, and he has speed equipment sometimes. Let's see if he has any flathead stuff. And it was like, picked up the phone, dialed the guy, and was talking to him like instantly. Like, you got any flathead speed equipment? He's like, nah, I sold all that stuff years ago. It's like, just okay. Like instant, like just those conversations.
But it's just like, yeah, having those conversations with people has led to, that's why we have to stay real loose with all this stuff. So for instance, this trip, got the lead from the gentleman who's a local who was helping us and knows everybody in the little town. And he's like, oh, I think I know of some stuff that's like 5 blocks over. You're like, are you kidding? He's like, yeah, it's guy I know's been trying to sell it for years. And I'm like, let's go check it out.
Matt's like, see you, Mike. Have fun.
I'm like, I'm going to look at some, XYZ. And he's like, okay. And I get there and then I come back and Mike's like, well, how was it? And I'm like, well, we got to load some of that stuff up. And it's like, I knew it. So.
And he didn't take any pictures.
I know, that was odd that I didn't.
He went, looked at it, agreed to buy it, and didn't take any pictures to show me. So I have no idea what we bought, to be 100% truthful.
So that is a non-fake reality. Yes. I literally forgot because it was like, it's getting that ridiculous anymore that I'm just like,
just another.
Okay, cool, yeah, whatever.
Was that Monday? Just another Monday?
I think it was Monday. So, no, Sunday.
No, it was Monday because Dale was here.
Oh, yeah. Okay. It was Monday. So we stay loose in that manner. A lot of times people ask about helping us a lot. We get that question a lot. And we a lot of times don't opt to ask for help because we are so loose. We were even worried on this trip because no one else is as loose as we are. So if we ask some person to drive 5 hours to come help us for 2-3 days doing a pick, which I know for people that want to help, they're doing it for just the fun of it, to get to experience some of this, which most people don't get to experience, which is great. We're super flattered that anyone would want to willingly come and help us for free or trade for some parts at the estate or whatever, whatever the thing is. But a lot of times we decline because we've had stuff where the trip changes last minute, and then it's like this awkward conversation where IronTrap asked me to help, and then
I drove 7 hours.
Yeah, the night before we were supposed to go, they bailed on me, and I took off work, and blah, 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 blah. It's like, so we feel guilty about, we knowingly are flaky with some stuff where we change things. So we could have a lot more help if we, like, everywhere we were going, we said, hey, next week in XYZ state, we need a couple helpers, here it is. And it's like, it's just, we try and work around that. So we leverage, luckily, we have a pretty close group of friends that a bunch of them will trade, payment or parts
They take their vacation from their normal jobs
To
to
help
come on the road with us and help.
which is pretty cool.
It
but
is.
but again, it's the same thing. Usually they get parts from the estate for free, or we'll throw them some money to like our one buddy.
Cover their travel costs, of course, as well.
Yeah, we always do that. Like even Kevin that came from Texas and helped us. We were been so busy with the mill lately. I didn't, and Carlisle, and this all happened so quickly coming on this last trip that he offered to help, and he was so laid back that I never asked him like what were his plans for staying or whatever. So I called him like I don't know, it was like 2 or 3 nights before we flew out, and I was like, hey man, like where were you planning to stay? He's like, oh, I don't know, I didn't really think about that, to be honest. I'm like, well, Dale's helping us and his father. I said, I'm going to book a hotel. Like, that's how I work. I'll pay for at the very least, I'm going to pay for your hotel. And he's like, oh, all right. I didn't really think about that. But yeah, I mean, if if you want to do that, that'd be great. And I'm like, well, yeah, but like, I would have thought by now you would have asked me. Most people are like, where are we staying? What are we doing?
Yeah.
He's like, okay. I'm like, this guy's going to fit. This is a
Perfect.
person that will fit in with
Yeah.
what we do because they're like, go with the flow person. But yeah, I think.
The one thing I wanted to mention with us being, flexible is one of the other reasons we have to be so flexible is travel. We're at the mercy sometimes of airlines.
Mm-hmm.
We've been boned recently, like when did we fly out? That we got. Oh, that's when we went to the Midwest
Yeah.
on that trip to.
Yep.
Yeah, we had our flight got like totally canceled.
Got pushed back.
Oh, we were going to miss our connecting flight.
Yeah, it got pushed back early in the day, and it was going to be close, and then it got pushed back again, and then it got pushed back enough that we were going to miss our connecting flight, and then it was like they didn't even know if it was going to take off that night,
Yeah.
and it was going to end up getting canceled. So we were like, well, what do we do? We already had all this stuff laid out. It was like, oh my God, the estate that one estate we were going to in Minnesota.
Yeah.
The gal I had already pushed off for Oklahoma.
Yes.
Because it happened and the gentleman's health for the stuff we bought here was very poor. We put him ahead of her, and she was getting a little antsy because we were like 6 months after, 3 months after. So we were like, man, we can't cancel on her. We can't, like, she had family coming to help load and all this stuff. So, so we just pivoted. Like I remember we were driving to the airport. Your wife was driving to the airport with the kids.
No, I was driving. You were in the passenger seat, and Karen was in the back seat.
Oh, that's right. And I'm like, what are we going to do? Should I just turn around and go home? Because I was like, we're going to miss the connecting flight. No way we can make it. Yeah, I remember you were like, should we just turn around and go home? And I was like, and figure it out. I'm like, let me just go talk to the person at the desk, because if you call customer service line for any airline in the planet, you're not getting anywhere. It's just like going to be automated and whatever. So I went up, talked to the guy straight, and after some coaxing and smooth talking, he was like, let me see if I can find you anything else. And he's like moving flights around and making phone calls and moving flights around. He's like, well, I could probably get you guys to fly out of Harrisburg, which is 2 hours away from where we were supposed to fly out, little airport we fly out of normally. And he's like, but you have to go real early in the morning, but it'll end up getting you in a little bit later than we wanted to get in.
Yeah.
But we would still be able to make the timeline if we did it all right. Because this is one of these ones we were flying in the night before. Supposed to be super relaxed. We get a hotel, hang out, go to U-Haul in the morning. Like, those are the trips that are the best. Like, Mike and I go in the evening. We fly in. We get in late. We get a hotel. We chill out. Know the trip's going to be crazy. And we can comfortably get a good night's sleep. So this was the opposite. It was like, so we turned around, went back home. I freaked Kate out because I walked back in the house after telling her, see you later, I'll be back in a week. And I walk in the house and Moon's freaked out. She's like, what happened?
Are you supposed to leave?
Yeah, and I'm like, well, funny story.
Things change.
So then we got up at like 2 a.m., and it ended up working out. We were only like, I think it ended up being a couple hours late to that estate because of that, 2 or 3 hours late. But we got everything done, and we ended up being able to correct back on schedule. But
that one actually wasn't too bad timeline, but we did one. I think we talked about it in the podcast when we did the Lonnie Beasley estate. We were 8 hours pushed behind schedule, but luckily Matt and I are maniacs, and we're able to drive really late, work really hard, and we were able to be flexible enough to not sleep, basically.
And we were lucky enough that that one estate.
All the estates were pretty flexible.
Yeah, but that the one gentleman, I forget his name now, but that was in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
He stayed out late with us, and we didn't leave his place until
We didn't get to his place till the sun was setting, basically.
Yeah. So we didn't leave his, but we were packing up at like 10:30 at night or something. And shout out to his wife because she was very patient and not super
She did
excited.
not look super thrilled by the time we left.
Yeah. So we have to be flexible with that stuff, but that's where we're always like, what's plan A, plan B, plan C, and what's the, oh crap, everything went to hell plan. And that's why like usually we're not too surprised. Like a lot of these estates that people are like, oh my God, like the wheels don't roll. What are we gonna do? And we're like, no problem. We'll just figure it out. We get X, Y, Z. I will say that we've gotten a lot better over the years at insisting or organizing a machine
Yeah.
at a lot of these estates because it ends up just killing yourself without having. I mean, this estate we couldn't have done without a machine, but like
We've done a lot of not fun loading over the years.
Yeah.
Of like breaking our backs and picking cars up into trailers. Remember that 32?
oh yeah,
The chassis got stuck and we had to physically pick up the front end to get it into the trailer. Just like slight oversights. And all of this, packing a truck, figuring out how to do things the better way, is all just from years of experience of doing these estates over and over again. I mean, we're getting close to doing like 100 trips and estates. It's getting pretty high numbers.
Yeah. So we've gotten better about like trying to coordinate with the family or the estate if it's one of these big ones of some sort of machine when possible. Now there is instances where it's not possible. I think in the future, because we're now relying on machines more to help us, being less stubborn.
Yeah.
Me being less stubborn about we may need to lose some profit, but if we rent a machine for a day and we don't kill ourselves and we get way more done, it's almost worth the $400 to rent a Bobcat for the day, and we get everything we need done. We don't damage anything as easily, all of the above, and it's like,
And we're not getting any younger.
yeah, that part for me especially, like feeling it in my body of destroying my body for all these years. It's like you feel it more. It's not like I can't work. It's just like now I
When
feel
you
it
do
in the
dumb stuff, it hurts a lot
Yeah,
more.
I can feel it in the morning, or I go to bed at night and I'm tossing and turning. My back hurts when I'm sleeping. It's like maybe I should have used a machine instead of lifting it. So we're trying to get a little better about that. Some of that stuff's a little more difficult because you can't really fly by the seat of your pants to rent a machine as easily. Most everything else you can. So we've discussed different stuff. I did it in my previous life during some of my German car stuff where it was like I had a lot of success with just finding the local tow yard or body shop.
Yeah.
And if you could find an old school tow guy or wrecker guy or body shop or even junkyard type guy, they're the guys that are usually pretty down to do stupid shit.
Sketchy stuff, definitely.
So for instance, the stuff we're moving tomorrow, it's a salvage yard that we're purchasing some stuff from, and it's like they have rollbacks, and I'm like, hey, do you think we could use the rollback to help move heavy things because we're done with our using of the Bobcat? He's like, yeah, we got to do service calls or if there's an accident or something. He's like, but like, for most stuff we don't need to drop everything so we can come out and help you do it. And he's just but like he didn't even know what we were planning to do, so he wouldn't have even offered. And it's like once you ask, but I'm like, I've done this before. If you have a rollback, you can drag heavy things up with the winch, move the truck up, and usually it's either a little higher or level with a box truck. In this instance with the U-Hauls, it'll be higher, but they can tilt the bed down, roll heavy things right into the vehicle, and it's into a back of a box truck, and it's no problem. So I used to do it with shipping containers. You can back a truck up and take things in and out, and you don't need a, whatever. So forklifts, even at the shop, now we're a lot better. We have a forklift at the mill. We have a forklift at the shop. We have my tractor. So it's like we don't really lift heavy stuff like we
No.
used to anymore. So we're getting better with that because that's which actually helps when we're packing stuff now. When we used to pack stuff, you were thinking of how you're going to hand unload it. Where now it's like if we find a bunch of pallets out in the state, we'll pack the stuff on pallets because we know get a forklift in. For instance, when we did Oklahoma the first time, we were packing the cabs and the bodies, knowing that we could probably drag them out or partially empty them
Yeah.
and pick them up and move them out. Now, some of that stuff was packed so full
Yeah, it was so heavy we couldn't even move it.
we couldn't even move it. But like there was stuff where we were, where you could get a tow strap to the front of the truck, use the forklift, drag the item back instead of us trying to push it ourselves. And
And you did that way back in the day with Pittsburgh. Remember, we packed the box truck on pallets so you could just grab it with a pallet jack and drag it out.
yeah, when we had the warehouse space, and that probably is what started changing me because Kate's father John ran the warehouse we used to rent at. So him doing warehousing for years, he was already used to you don't use your body.
He would just bitch at us constantly.
they're like use the forklift. I have fork extensions. I have lifting straps. I have pallet jacks. We have all this. I have the plates that bridge between the stuff. Just so like he kind of
Beat it physically into your head.
yeah he kind of you don't when you never have that stuff you don't even think about it. You just go right into the hard way of doing it because it's all you know. So
I was doing that this week. There's multiple times Matt's like, "We have a machine.
Yeah,
Stop it."
yeah, just use the machine. So I yeah, so that took a long time to think of that, but now we're able to doing that. We're able to more freely pivot when we're doing all of the loading and stuff because
Yeah.
we're not as worried about well, man, if we put those rears all the way up there, we have to carry them back. It's like no, we got a machine. We'll just hook a strap, drag it to the back, pick it up with the forks, move it, whatever, no big deal. But yeah, we usually otherwise for planning.
That's basically it.
Yeah, we'll plan. Obviously dollars. We're going to spend. We're not millionaires. We can't just put $1 million in a duffel bag and carry around. So it's that's definitely planned. Even though we do pretty good with the business, we still have to kind of keep an eye on what we're spending. So it's like okay, most of the trips it's okay. This one big estate, we kind of know what we're going to spend. That's the big chunk of money. And then we'll bring a little bit of extra money because almost every time it said big estate, there's a sign, a car, whatever that we didn't expect we were going to buy
Yep.
is there. And if we brought that exact the dollar amount, we would be out of luck.
This is one of the first trips we were going back somewhere and we were like not spending. We didn't have to hand anyone not a large sum of money, but a sum of money before we did anything. We kind of just showed up. We're like, okay,
Yeah, I
get to
had
work.
I mean, the guy we were renting the machine from, I handed him money to use the machine, but it was like other than that, but yeah, it felt weird. We were commenting on like, usually we show up to the States, and within an hour of getting there, we're counting out tens of thousands of dollars,
And there was
it's
no need for a tour.
nope.
A lot less, not less pleasantries, just like usually they show us around. We conversate, talk
yeah.
about stuff. It was kind of just like the sun was like, it's kind of the same way you guys see it the last time you were here. These are a few things that are different. See you
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah, and it was kind of I mean, he hung out for a little while, but yeah, it was basically like he just
You guys can start working whenever you want.
yep. So we usually have a rough dollar amount for whether it's the first stop or what it is, but the large estate. And then we have these smaller ones where maybe we don't really know what all we're buying, but we're probably not buying everything, so we'll have a smaller dollar amount. So you bring a little bit of extra money. I mean, if there's anything you should learn about picking or going to swap meets, and we say it in the Hershey 101 video,
Yes.
always bring more money than you think you're going to need. So if I think we're going to spend X at this estate, maybe a few $100 here, and we're going to look at one intake at two or three intakes at this guy's place that's right off the highway. It's like, well, the two or three intake guy might have Olds intakes on the wall, and he just thinks we only want flathead, and then we're standing there, and you're buying, I'm buying an Olds engine next thing you know.
There was a bunch of people that stopped to this at this in Oklahoma to buy stuff. They did not listen to that at all.
Oh,
They
no,
showed up with the exact dollar amount. And they're like, "Oh, you got all this other stuff?" I'm like, "Did you not look at any of the ads I posted? Just like piles of shit. Did you not think other things were for sale?"
And
Show
they
up
like,
with the exact dollar amount. They're like, "Oh, well, how much?
how much for that? Those wheels?
I don't
How
have
much
any
for
extra money."
how much for this? How much for that? And you're like, and we're even like in this instance, we were giving like so cheap of prices that we would have bought the stuff if it was if roles were reversed.
Yeah.
I was literally selling. I sold some wide five wheels for what we target like to pay for them to resell them, but it was because he was standing there. We're trying to take as little back in this truckload on this first stop. It's like totally backwards from how we normally are. And it's like people didn't have any.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, come on. Nobody taught you this?
Yeah.
Like,
Always extra money.
yeah, always bring the extra money. Always have the other pocket with the extra money in it that you might have some stuff. So we generally kind of know what we're going to bring, but we always bring a little bit of extra because there's always something. And a lot of times I think that surprises the states because they'll be like, "Oh man, how much for that sign?" Blah blah blah. And they're like, well, you know what? Maybe we could ship it to you if you want to mail a check, or next time you come back. And I'm like, "No, I'll take it now." Like, oh. I'm like, well, why would I come with the exact amount? Well, we didn't. I'm like, no, that's
Another thing we could talk about is tools.
Oh yeah,
That's a huge comment we always get. It's like,
you dummies.
why didn't you bring straps? Why didn't you bring tools? Why didn't you bring a welder and a fucking plasma cutter to cut all that stuff and weld it all back together? It's like we generally 90% of the time for these big estates, we're usually flying in.
Mm-hmm.
So we could check a bag with tools in it. But Matt and I, of all the trips we've done, I think we've only checked a bag one time. And it's because we were forced to.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, we take a carry-on and a backpack. And usually it's me with a carry-on with camera equipment, my backpack, and Matt's backpack.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only things we travel with.
Yeah, and people also kind of will comment quite often on, "Oh, you idiots, you could have got XYZ." We go out of our way to try and buy as little as we can on the road. I know we can go to Tractor Supply and get XYZ. And like this trip is, again, totally oddball one. We bought a drill. We bought a bunch of lumber. And it was like
Sawzall blades and cutoffs.
So, but it was like, it's like by the time we brought them and all the stuff, it's like we did go get them. But yes, we could have mailed the stuff to ourselves. Last time we mailed ourselves some stuff.
All kinds, tools, cutoff wheels.
And the hassle involved of doing that and the cost to ship it.
Well, you almost lost the box.
Oh, yeah.
UPS like flipped it over a million times and the box was like falling apart.
And it's like, and then we had to bring some batteries on the plane, and it was just like all this extra stuff.
And then we barely used it.
And then they were battery powered Sawzalls, and for how heavy of cutting we needed to do, you really needed a corded one. So it's like you could think of and that's why I've leaned towards just be unprepared and just know how to solve problems, because a lot of times what happens is you put all this effort in to try and be overly prepared. I'm going to bring this. I'm going to ship myself this. I'm going to do this.
I'm the overly prepared person.
Think of all the things that could happen and try and be super prepared, and then you get there and all that shit doesn't work, and you wasted all this fucking time thinking about it, doing it, and then you get there and you're now back to square one where you have to pivot. But now you're all pissed off because you put all this time. Where I'm like, I'm going to prepare nothing and know that I'm going to have to sort it out when I get there. And all I know is I have money in my pocket. I can go buy every single damn tool I want at a store. I'm going to bitch and complain. Mike was buying a drill today at Lowe's, and I was like, $30. I have a drill at home, but it's like, you know what?
He gave me the look as soon as I walked up with it. Also, every time, I've been helping Matt do stuff for over a decade. Every time we're overly prepared and bring tools, we never, ever use tools.
Yeah, or we use to make one
screwdriver.
Yeah.
We use a screwdriver.
Well, we like at this estate, I cut a couple doors off of the hinges, and it was but realistically,
We didn't need to bring that stuff.
we didn't really need to bring it. I was probably only doing it because the Sawzall was there and I felt like I had to use it. But we could have left that door behind and got it.
But we've
And,
done other estates where we drove with the truck and we've
Yeah.
loaded a bunch of tools and supplies and stuff, and it literally just stayed on the back seat and we never touched it.
the other thing we are terrible at is there's like super obvious stuff that we know we're going to need.
Yes.
And we both totally forget about it. So like we bought, it just happened with that Willie's estate. Or no, not the Willie's
There was
estate.
a 34 in Ohio.
35 in Ohio. I recently bought. We went to do the 34 sedan delivery, and the
Andy.
that was there helping us. Sorry, Andy. Andy works at a Ford dealership, and he borrowed from one of the guys, or maybe the dealership's Milwaukee, cordless air pump, and we used it there. I'm like, man, this thing's great. It's handy. So I went and got one on Amazon. I've had it. We've barely used it, and there's been multiple occasions where we've gone on local trips to buy cars, and we forget the freaking thing in my toolbox, and we get there and they're like, what would help really great right now with all these flat tires? A cordless air pump. And we're just making fun of ourselves. We're like, man,
But what happens at every estate is we pivot and the person, the old man, the lady's like, oh, I got a pancake air compressor right over there. I haven't used it in 25 years.
Yeah,
Like the one in Ohio, we drained like a gallon of rusty water out of before we fired it up. So it's
but
like,
those are the core memories
Yes.
that make this stuff so fun, where you're just like, I can't believe we're doing this. Like, we're mad at ourselves right now because we forgot the pump.
yes.
But we're solving the problem, but we're just laughing at the situation because we have this great thing that's brand new sitting at home, and we're like,
And a lot of times the problem is we'll find an air compressor, and then the next step's like,
the air chuck.
where's the hose? And
Where's
then we figure the hose, and it's like, well, at least if there's no air chuck, you can at least shove the end of the air
Yeah,
hose on. But it's
sure.
like one of the things is always missing. You're like, we have an air hose and an air chuck, but we have no air compressor. It's like,
Cords cut off the air compressor. Like, now we're finding a drill and cutting the cord off and wiring
Splicing
it.
them, yeah.
Like, oh my god! But like, some of these trips is like, it's like you're being tested over and over and over and over again. It's like you do this one thing to solve this problem, and then here's the next thing, and it's like, like Mike's saying, like we're fighting to get a car outside, and we get it up the ramp, and you're like, oh, finally, it's out the building. We're gonna get up the ramp, and it hits the cross member, and you're dead in the water, and you're like, it was 2 hours to get this thing dug out and out here, and then we get it almost up there, and you're like, and then it's stuck, and you're out of energy, and you're like, oh, what do we need to do? We're all pissed off, trying to like work at it. We're kind of half yelling at each other, mostly me yelling, and Mike's like, just calm down, we'll get the, like, so we have to be able to work when we're kind of frustrated and tired, and that's sometimes hard.
that's actually one thing Matt and I are both very good at, is we kind of don't, that's something we're good at adjusting to, is like, it did take us 10 more hours than we thought it was going to, and we're still loading in the pitch black. And it's like, no sense in us bitching at each other and yelling, and we just
you'll never see us throwing stuff or like somebody storming off because we get it done. We were talking with, Dale that's helping us. I tried to, when he stayed with me, we were trying to explain to him, we are East Coast people, and especially Mid-Atlantic
Yes.
area is very abrasive. And as much as I am pretty well spoken for what we do, who I am and how I was brought up, when we're working hard, or we're in these situations, all bets are off, and I'm kind of an asshole sometimes because we're trying to get something done in a quick and efficient manner, and people can get their feelings hurt. So Dale, I'm not saying that Dale got his feelings hurt. I felt bad and had to apologize a couple of times because, like, he is the most polite person possibly I've ever met.
he's up there, definitely.
He's one of the most polite people I've ever met. And
And if you met him at Carlisle and Hershey, he was probably the most polite person you met at either of those events.
I had to tell him, because we were on the East Coast, to stop being so polite because East Coast people get creeped out by it. Like, he was doing nothing creepy. He was literally just being friendly to people in a restaurant. And I'm like, Dale, stop being so nice. that girl thinks you're being a creep, like hitting on her or something like that. He's like, I was just wanted to tell her that I really enjoyed her service. I'm like, that's fucking creepy on the East Coast. I know it doesn't make any sense. I know what I'm saying. That's just how East Coast people, we're into like, what do you want out of me? Like,
Yeah.
why are you being nice to me? So like, I had to remember that. And during working, it gets, especially like this trip, we had a lot to get done. And like, you need to have, everybody's trying to be helpful and people can get hurt. And it's like, you really need, and I learned this from like working with my father who's done, running equipment, all stuff. You need a guy running the machine, and you need a guy on the ground that's directing,
Yes.
orchestrating everything. And he's the one that's a lot of times that's the guy that actually knows what needs to be done. The operator is a good operator, but they can't see. And you're like, tilt here, go to that. And if 10 people try to have their hands in there helping, somebody can get hurt. And it's like, you have to be kind of rude with people. Get the fuck back. Just stand over there. When we're ready, we'll tell you to put but just step back. And that part of it, Mike and I are very good with. We're like, be kind of an asshole about stuff, and no one gets offended. We're not like, oh,
Matt would have to try really hard to offend my
same,
feelings.
same,
Yeah.
same. It's
And him trying really hard, he'd probably be like, ooh, that was probably a little too far.
I mean, yeah, just my normal like mean, and that was the thing I was saying to Dale last night when I was like, we were eating dinner. And I'm like, man, I'm sorry, man, if I was whatever, but he's like, oh, I know. I said, I just want you to know, even if I yell at you tomorrow when we're doing stuff, if I don't like you, I wouldn't talk to you. I wouldn't offer to help. Like, oh, today we were cutting the cab he bought, and I was helping him. He's like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not as experienced and whatever. Just being the nicest guy alive.
Again, be nice.
And I'm like, dude, I wouldn't be here in the fucking rust with you cutting these bolts. Like, I don't need to do that. I could just take in your money and we could have stood back and watched you struggle to cut. Like, all of us are here helping each other, and that's, I don't. That's how it is. And like, because he's helping us, I'm gonna help him. And I might be rude to you because you're trying to just in the heat of the moment get things done. But like, that's just how it is, and that's how I was brought up. Unfortunately, like getting yelled at by your father because you're not doing it
I
right.
worked construction for so many years. I was around very mean and angry people.
I'm sure anyone that listens to our podcast, especially if you live on the East Coast and you've worked a blue collar job
Or just lived in a city. Because a lot of times people are just abrasive in everyday life.
Yeah. That's definitely an East Coast thing. Like if you're your best friends, you're the most rude to.
Yes, 100%.
And that's like the thing. Like if you really don't like someone, you just
don't acknowledge they exist.
Yeah, you won't acknowledge their existence. But like your best friends, you are the most rude to in the planet. And I feel like that is universally true in the car world as well. Like it's like your best buddies, you're the most rude to and making fun of and whatever. So we work pretty good with that. We've had a lot of estates where it's challenging, very, very challenging, where we're just having a hard time, we're frustrated, whatever. And it's like, as long as we always have that mindset that like nothing is that big of a deal, we can fix it somehow. It's just my term is always, it's a minor inconvenience. I have that conversation with my girlfriend all the time when she gets upset about stuff that she is getting very upset about. I'm like, it's a minor inconvenience. We could be in a third world country now trying to look for clean water. I know it sucks. I know it's upsetting. And that's how we take all of this. We're like, man, it sucks. XYZ happened, whatever. We got to run all the way back into town to get a hitch because we got the wrong hitch to move this XYZ.
And it's usually me bringing something up and Matt goes, I don't know, we'll figure it out. Stop talking about it.
Whatever. I don't even want to think about it. I don't even like. I usually don't want to even let that stuff enter my brain because it's like it just is extra things.
I'm very much thinking. I like to think ahead, and Matt's very much thinking what's happening now. So sometimes I think too far ahead, and I'm getting ahead of myself.
Well, I do think ahead, but I'm just like, that's something that can easily be sorted out.
Yeah.
And we don't even need to worry about it because when we get there at that point, the problem will show itself and there will be a solution. It'll either be X, Y, Z, and we fix it whichever way. And that goes to say there's plenty of times that you say something and I'm like, oh, you know what? That was probably the better way to do it. And he does the thing and it's better and I acknowledge that. So don't think that I always think I try to be actively like, yes, that's a
It's
good
usually
idea.
50-50. I usually bring a lot of stuff up that doesn't need to be brought up, and other times I bring stuff up that should be brought up.
But we try and acknowledge that,
Yeah.
but it's hard when we have people helping us.
And even with just people out of states.
Yes,
Like,
families, whatever.
families are just the people that own this, that had
Yeah.
owned the stuff. They're, different personalities. They don't know us at all.
Yeah. And
Sometimes they,
that's harder because I'm trying to be very professional, and we have instances where someone at the estate is treating us like we've never backed a trailer up, like we've never lifted an engine, never loaded a car, never done any of this. And I'm like, a lot of times I try to politely be like, so you called us because you knew our reputation and what we do and how we do this all the time. But you're telling me how to load your one singular early Ford on the trailer.
yeah.
And they're like, yeah, I guess you're right. I let it sink in for a moment. I'm trying to be polite, but I'm also kind of like giving a little nudge. And
It usually starts out, we do this a lot. And then
Yeah.
they keep coming. It's like,
Yeah.
like you called us for yeah, you're right. I'll leave you guys alone.
You're fine. You're fine. Or you guys aren't going to fit all that in that truck, or you're not getting all that. And even this estate that the gentleman's son who we're now dealing with, I kind of was texting with him the other night, like telling him how far we got, and he was like having a hard time believing that we got that much done in 2 days. It's like, well, we're very efficient. We do make
we
a
had
plan.
a machine, which
Yeah.
helped a million times.
But we had a plan. We like this trip. We had a plan, but we don't make the plan so like set that it was whatever. But we had
This
a
is
rough
what
plan.
we're going to try to do. And if that doesn't work, this is what we're going to do.
And we were pivoting during the day. It's like we had people that agreed to buy stuff, and they were kind of like not answering the messages when they were coming, if they were definitely coming. It's like literally we're like the sawzall's in my hand. I'm like, if that guy doesn't get back to you in 30 minutes, I'm starting to cut this body up.
I'm going to go set this down and go drink a bottle of water and let me know.
And Mike's like, you don't need to cut it. The guy's coming at 2:00. I'm like, okay.
Let me get in the machine, hook the chain up, and we'll drag it out so it's
I'm
not
like-
near any extension cords.
2:30. I'm cutting that motherfucker. I don't care. If he pulls in.
Drag it back in here.
So, but this one was more time crunch than
Yeah.
we normally have. Usually the time crunch is ourselves. We also try to be on the road as short of a period of time as possible. A lot of it is Mike having an actual legitimate family. I have a family, but I don't have kids. Or
Yeah.
Kate's very understanding, but like he has kids, his wife who's very understanding and is taking care of 2 young children while we're away gallivanting around.
And Matt gets to experience the craziness every morning and night. When I call them on the phone, he's just like, what is going on in there? Like they're kids.
I love it. But so we do try and limit it, and a lot of our trip planning is based around like that schedule. That's
Yeah.
the thing I always joke with Mike. I'm like, when do you need to be back?
That's usually how we plan the trip.
When do you need to fly out? When do you need to leave? And like sometimes it's actually goes back to around Mike's wife.
No.
Well, she has this XYZ thing that she needs to do, so I can't leave till this last trip. We were leaving on we wanted to leave on Halloween, and Mike's like, well, I got to take my kids trick or treating. It's like, fair enough. That's like non-negotiable.
Yeah.
We'll leave the next morning. I know the flight's a little more expensive, but like missing Halloween with your kids is non-negotiable.
He just wanted the Halloween candy. Kate wanted the
Kate
Halloween
wanted
candy.
the Halloween candy. But like that's the stuff that's great about what we do. Being so like flexible, me as a person, it could flip-flop the other way of me being the boss or whatever the fuck we try to pretend like I am.
We're leaving on this day at this time. You have to be on the flight.
That's how it is. And like you working a job where you used to travel, that's how, like, here's your flight. This is when you're leaving. This is what's happening. Oh, the machine broke. You're staying an extra week. Where we're like, we've cut stuff short out of states because we need to make sure we get back on Sunday evening because Mike's wife has work on Monday and he needs to, whatever.
She took care of the kids for an entire week by herself. Yeah. If I'm not home Sunday night, she's going to lose her mind having to deal with them again.
Yeah, so that's the good side of things of like what all we do, and the great part of what we are able to create here is everything's so flexible. We make our own schedule. We work around it. We also will have to work really hard to hit those deadlines sometimes, but we almost pretty much every time we're able to make it work. It's just sometimes we want to get back Sunday morning, we get back Sunday evening.
Or we have to drive later into the night every day
I don't
too.
know if we've ever, knock on wood, that we come back like a day later or 2 days later, like
No, it's usually within like
half a day type deal. Or,
within 12 hours.
yeah.
We'll get back. Early, early or late morning. Around 10, 11 o'clock, and then it's like 8 o'clock at night. So it's like I'm very vague with my wife. Thank you, Karen. I love you. I'm very like
Learn
just
that, yeah.
just broad. Like we'll be home Sunday. I'll give you an exact time when we're close. When I
Yeah.
know how the day is going.
Yeah, so that always
I've
changes
burned that bridge way too many times.
Yeah, yeah, you don't. And Kate just has no clue what's going on.
Matt just shows up and is like, "Hey, I'm back."
There's been numerous times where like we've actually gotten back early on trips
Yeah.
occasionally where we like decided we were going to drive through the night or we were just going to push through and make it that evening. We get in at 1 or 2 a.m. and I'm like get home and crawl into bed. She's like, "What? I thought you were getting back at noon tomorrow. What the
Yeah.
like, what's going on here?" And I'm like, we just drove through the night instead. And,
I mean, glad she doesn't have a good like a trigger finger or something. You just walk in the
know.
house and blow you away.
I know that crazy guard dog I have.
Yeah.
He's snoozing on. It's actually I have to roll him out of my spot in the bed. I'm
Doesn't
like,
even
"Come on,
wake
man.
up. It's so funny.
Come on, Moon, let's go."
And then he's wired for sound because you're home at 1 in the
Yes,
morning.
I know, but So for the most part, getting back, that's probably the most planned out things is when we're leaving, when we're getting back. Everything in between is all a blur, and we don't really understand.
Yeah,
you
like
know?
tomorrow we're leaving. We don't really know when we're leaving, really. We kind of have a rough game plan, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Like me buying an additional item today through an extra like the things I bought earlier this week, we already had a game plan. We're like, oh, that's pretty easy. Like we know how we'll get that in. We know how we'll keep everything safe and secure. And it's like, okay, got a plan. And all of a sudden it's like I bought an extra thing. Like, oh, now we need to go rent a trailer. We need to dig said thing out.
And while Matt was helping Dale do that, I said, "Give me your phone. I'll go rent a trailer. We'll get it all figured out and have it all set up so we're just continue on for the rest of the day."
Met a good old boy Glenn and
Yeah.
had a good interaction, and it was all good. So yeah, so that's some of the mystery of our road trips. I think we could talk for a while about
Yeah.
all the different stuff, but like overall, that's kind of
That's
big,
a lot of the questions that people have
Yeah.
about like how do you guys do this?
yeah. And like for gear, like Mike said, we don't bring. I mean, I literally bring the same green backpack for
Which
any
is
of our
Kate's
trips.
high school backpack, right?
Might have been college backpack.
Ah.
Yeah, I somehow started using that, and I just continue to use it. But it's like funny. That's my backpack. I try and fit everything I need in that backpack for a week.
The only thing we really bring that's like equipment is a pair of boots and a pair of gloves is usually, and sometimes we forget gloves half the time.
Yeah, that happens quite often, and then we just buy everything else we need. I mean,
Yeah.
like for instance, the weather is going to be different on this trip, which is this traveling this time of year is a little difficult. It's November, early November here now. So if you're listening to this, later on, it's early November. It's like it's like perfect weather here in Oklahoma right now, where it's like might be low 40s in the morning, maybe even high 30s and like early in the morning, but by like 11 o'clock it's low 70s. It's like perfect as far as I'm concerned. But we're going to be traveling through the Midwest into Chicago. You never know what's going to go on in November in Chicago and
Yep.
Ohio and all that. So it's like I kind of brought a heavier jacket. I brought a hoodie. It's been actually kind of warm. And my hoodie, the jacket I brought's too heavy. And I'm like, we're going to have to stop at Buc-ee's and buy a sweatshirt or something. It's like, I always figure that too. Even with my clothing, I'm like, I'll figure it out. Sometimes I've joked, I'm like, I might just bring the clothes I'm wearing and I'll just buy a pack of t-shirt, underwear.
I mean, that's what we should do just to make, because sometimes our backpacks are like, they don't fit under the seat of the
Yeah.
airplane because there's just so much clothing packed in them.
Half my clothing should be thrown in the trash anyway, so it'd probably be smart if I just brought clothing and as I wore it, I just throw the socks away and throw the underwear away and
That's
buy
actually not a
new.
bad idea. I should probably start doing that.
Should start doing that, but I don't.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Anyway,
Anyways,
hope you guys enjoyed our hotel story session. Sorry for the lovely backdrop. This is the best place we could put 2 chairs in this room.
yep, this is how we go.
Yes.
So thank you guys for listening, following along. Like we mentioned, make sure you check out the upcoming videos.
Yeah.
We got some pretty fun one on this trip. A couple videos coming up, and I think you guys will enjoy it. So
Definitely.
thanks for following along. Catch you next time. See you.